Hello everyone, my name is Thomas, and today in this video we're going to be finishing up our Adobe Illustrator demo series. And by the end of this video we'll have this completed project file. So without further ado, let's get started. So to start, we'll create this planet that our astronaut is looking at. So if we go back to our original file, what we'll do is we'll hide both of these and we'll create a new layer. This layer will be called Planet. And this is pretty simple. All we have to do is create a circle using our ellipse tool. We'll hold shift to create a perfect sphere, and we'll put on a gradient. So this is where you can start to have a little bit of fun. In the demo file that I created, I used a orange and yellow and white color scheme. But this is where you can have a little fun and you can create your own color schemes. So in this one, I'll maybe create a blue and purple color scheme. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create a few points here, probably about 5. You can maybe put as many as 7 on, but it's up to you. You are the artist in this project. So what we'll do is we'll create a few colors, just go through. I'm double clicking the nodes and just selecting colors that are on this gradient. You can be more specific and go to here and use this color spectrum and adjust the colors with these sliders. Maybe I'll go with a little bit more purpley color, back to purple, maybe a black and another purple. Blue. We'll go with the blue and we'll tweak the colors. We'll rotate it. Alright, so with our gradient in place, that's basically about it that we'll do with this planet. For now, we'll just hide it and we'll close our gradient window. The next thing we'll be creating is the text. So what we'll do is we'll get our text tool from the left menu and we'll just draw a text box. But first we'll create a new layer. Call this one Gone Too Far. This is just what I'm calling it. Feel free to create your own name. So we don't want the standard text. So what we'll do is we'll type Gone Too Far. And I'll use Control A to make it bigger. What I'll do is I'll come down here. What I'll do is I'll select a font. In the one that I used League Gothic, just a font that I liked. We'll bump this up quite a bit just by holding down the arrow. We'll do it to about 110 font. We'll then drag our text box with our selection tool just to make it fit a little better, so that way when you're clicking around you won't be clicking it by accident. Minimize the chance of clicking it. And with our text, that is about all we need to do. If you want to mess around with the typing, what you can do is you can go into these advanced settings by clicking these 3 dots, these more options. And here you can adjust the kerning, the leading, the tracking, the rotation. It's all up to you. Maybe what I'll actually do is need to make this a little bigger. What I'll do is I'll increase the vertical scale. So we'll stretch this out, maybe 110%. There we go. I'm happy with that. Now for this, I used a black fill, but I also gave it a white stroke. This just gives it a little bit of extra clarity because it's going to be on some gray paneling. Right now we won't see it, but it'll be there. Next we'll create our back panel, and this one we're actually going to create a layer, but we're actually going to move it down to the very bottom because we want this to be as far back in the background as possible. So this is our background. So what we'll do is we'll create a rectangle tool, and we'll create a rectangle that covers the entire space. We'll even make this stretch out a little further than it needs to be. And for this one, we will make it a gray, fairly light gray. It doesn't need to be as dark because the porthole needs to be a little bit more visible. So with our back panel done, what we'll do is we'll add our little panel gaps because we're panels. And this is really up to you. What I did is I used the line segment tool, and you can just go around the edge. Click and drag. It doesn't have a fill, but it has a stroke, and what we can do is we can make that black, and we can bump up the stroke to maybe 5 pixels, and just start. Make sure to click and drag. I hold shift for mine. Okay, now that we have all of our elements together, and the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to create one more layer. This last layer is going to be our shadow. See in the back one, we have our large shadow from assumingly the planet coming up. So what we'll do is we'll create that. Super simple, just a circle, but a very large one. And I have it just so that way it doesn't touch the lettering, but it kind of goes around where the porthole will be. So what we'll do is we'll give it a fill, a solid fill, and we'll leave it as black actually. But what we will do is remove the stroke. So click the stroke and hit none. There's no reason for that other than personal preference for me, but you know, it's something. And for this, what we'll do is we'll actually lower the opacity. I think I lowered it to about a quarter, 25%. That should be good enough, but adjust it to your own liking. What we'll do is we'll unhide our layers. To quickly hide or unhide a bunch of layers, what you can do is click and drag across the various eyes, and that'll undo a lot of layers, or hide them all, bring them back up. It's very satisfying. So what we'll do is we'll do our final assembly. So what we'll do is we'll hide just about everything except our astronaut and our porthole. What we'll do is we'll get our porthole in place. That up, move it over a little bit. Kind of want it to be in the middle of the page. Yeah, that should be good. We'll get our astronaut. And what we'll actually do is we'll make him small. We'll actually bring him up over the porthole to get him sized right. So we'll bring his layer above, and we want his head just to fit inside the space. No, it doesn't have to be a picture perfect fit unless you want it to. If we zoom in, we can get a little finer movement, but that should be good. Then move him to the center. Just make sure you get one of those guides. Then we'll move them back under Porthole. So now that we have our astronaut put in place, what we're actually going to do is we're actually going to move him into the Porthole layers. So what we want is we want him to be behind the glass, but also in front of the frame. So we're going to grab his layer, and we're going to move him right between the glass and the frame. Now you can't see him, but don't worry, we'll remedy that right now. What we're going to do is we're going to select these glass layers using this right space over here. If you just click, you'll select a glass layer. What we'll lower this down to is 70%, and we'll do this for both. And you'll see that we start to see him. Just to make him pop out a little bit more, what we're going to do is we're going to take the frame, we're going to select over on the right, and we'll do a Control-C and a Control-V. See that we have a new frame that we're going to put right over top the old one. Exactly how it was. Take the frame, we'll move it down. And this is going to be behind the astronaut. So we're actually going to move it right there. And we'll actually rename this to background. What we're going to do is we're going to resize this. So we want the height and the width to maintain the same perfect circular, and we're going to make sure that this box is checked. So if it looks like this, where the links have like a slash through it, make sure to recheck it so that way you can see the two links together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the fill, so that way it's pure black. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the size. Just start messing around with values. I believe 300 fit my scene, but your circle might be slightly different. If you want to copy my dimensions, what you can do is type in 378. We'll just round this up to 378. So if you make your circle 378 pixels across, your background can be 300 pixels and fit perfectly. So now this is all together. We can unhide our text. See that it's there. Unhide our shadow. See that it's there. And we'll unhide our planet. So to move our planet, what we're actually going to do is we're going to lock all the layers and then unlock our planet. This just makes selecting stuff a lot easier. So we'll select our planet, move it over to where we want. We want it kind of in the line of sight. Scale it down, and we want this to fit within the porthole. So yeah, right there. And what I did was I lowered the opacity all the way down to 25%. Now for this, the color palette doesn't work great. I'm just going to copy over the other one that I had. Kind of hard to see, but I'm just going to delete this. So what you can do to delete a layer is click on the layer you want and then click this trash can. We'll then move this planet over so that way it fits. Make it a little smaller. And there we are. And there we are, we're finished with our project. Now what we can do to see it as it will be shown is go to View and then go to Presentation Mode. And you'll see that on our screen we have our final project in its form. If you were to say print this out or save it as an image, this is what you'd see. So if you're happy with it, what we'll do is we'll go up to File, we'll go to Export, and Export for Screens. From here we'll get a menu with a lot of different buttons on it. You don't need to worry about a lot of them right now. All you need to do is export to. If you go to this folder over here, you'll find that there is a File Explorer. This is where you'll save your files. We'll just save mine to the desktop, and this is where you'll save it as a PNG. You can do a JPEG or an SVG or even a PDF. Right now we're just saving it as a PNG, so we don't need to worry about that. And what we need to do is just click Export Artboard. From here, this will open a file explorer. What we'll do is we'll go up to 1x. I know it's a weird file name. And this is where you'll find your project, Artboard 1. If we open that up. Okay, so for whatever reason, the Photos app on my computer was not working, so I opened it up in Photoshop just to show you that this is what it was. And that will conclude our introduction demo series to Adobe Illustrator. If you enjoyed this, maybe you can go watch our other series on Adobe Photoshop or Premiere or one of the other applications that we've done tutorial videos on. Or you can continue on with our intermediate series of Adobe Illustrator videos. But otherwise, I'll see you later. You have a good one.